There's a really interesting lighting choice on RATCHED that I noticed where and it's in a few different locations where you have a really, really intense, like daylight almost looking beam of light that lands, and it's very narrow. And you see it in the jail cell where Edmund is. You see it in the office, the big office where I can't remember his name, but the doctor that runs the hospital.
Dr. Hanover's office. Yeah, that was my favorite set, actually.
Oh my God. Please, I can't wait to talk about the sets. But there's something about that is a really strong lighting choice. It's almost blown out. You almost can't even see any detail in the whites. I'd love to hear about that decision, even if it weren't yours, and how I guess how you dealt with that and incorporated it into your cinematography.
Yeah, it wasn't an accident. It was all designed. To me, it was more of a blooming than a blowout. Dr. Hanover's office particularly almost looks like you're in some kind of strange aquarium. It's and then right on top of that, he insisted on having palm tree leaves scattered through the backing and through the shears. Yeah. So you get this, it was almost like you're in a jungle, when you see Dr. Hanover's office, particularly the wides. No, that was all completely preconceived, and it was all very considered.
So for the people that haven't seen the show, can you just describe what this lighting decision was and what, just kind of describe what it is?
It to me, from my interpretation was, it's almost like light is screaming to get into a space, and sometimes it does, and sometimes you get a leak, but it's almost suppressed. So it's like a suppression of sunlight. So what you end up doing, obviously, on top of that with the filtration in the camera, which will kind of bloom highlights, is you get this almost dreamlike quality. And that was at some point I was chatting to Ryan, and a couple of things that he was asking me what I thought about the design of the show so far. And I pulled out a word that I realized later was subconsciously from the Cuckoo's Nest. I just said it's really peculiar. It's just a peculiar show. And he looked at me, cocked his head, and was like, "Is that a good thing?" And I said, yeah, because I've never seen anything like this. And the other thing was the dreamscape of it all. Every scene almost feels like a weird dream. I don't know if people would interpret that. I feel it like that. It's just like you're stuck in this weird void where a lot of peculiar things are happening, a lot of twisted things are happening, and it's messing with your brain because it's dealing with psychosis and psychology and psychiatry, Yeah. So the intention through that, the sort of light concept that you're talking about was very much sort of sewn into that kind of intention of a dream-like kind of quality.
And these are single, narrow shafts of light, or shaft, I should say, because it really is kind of just one in the space. And when you first see characters sort of slide through it, obviously it's not a mistake, but when you see a character slide through it, it really stands out to you.
Yeah.
And because it's so narrow, it's almost theatrical in a way.
Sure.
You don't really see that in TV and film. You see it more on stage. I'm just curious how that was described to you. Did you go to set the first time and you're like, what is with this super hot light that's peeking through? How was that described to you?
It wasn't actually translated. It's funny because I was sort of sitting quietly in the corner and studying, really. And Nelson, had set up the kind of rigs and all of the lighting. And some shows you end up kind of using a certain budget of lighting. And with Ryan's shows, because they are so expressive, we would use bigger sources, that would really, really punctuate. So when a character, like he says, hits that sun, it's almost like they bloom. And to me, going back to, how my brain works, I would interpret that as being, you're exposing a character. You're kind of almost X-raying them, There's a sequence we did in a barn where it was like a Bonnie and Clyde subplot.
Yeah.
Where Edmund and his lover kind of go on the run. And they wake up in the morning and they're suddenly surrounded by the police, and they go into this side area of the barn, and we ended up putting a huge, big, it was technically as an 18K lamp. And, I didn't feel like I needed to diffuse it. We had a little bit of haze in the air. And there's moments where the light would hit him and bounce into her face, and there's moments where the light would hit her face and hit his. So to me, I don't know if I should feel that I'm doing that for any particular direct meaning. I would say that I'm loving that tone in relation to the psychology of the scene. It just feels right.